So what's it going to look like at your favorite store 2 weeks from now, a month from now, a year from now? I couldn't think of anyone better to talk about this than our good friend. She is the editor-in-chief of Twin Cities Business. Please welcome Allison Kaplan. Hello, Allie.
Well, hello, Jason. How are you?
Thanks. I'm doing well. I always like to ask our dear friends, and you are among them. How are you and your family doing during this nutter butter time?
It is Nutter Butter, that is for sure. We're doing great. Thank you for asking. Really can't complain and trying to focus on the positives.
Absolutely. Believe me, I'm just like, okay, I'm lucky, and we now do a whole segment of positivity. But I so respect your insight because for people that don't know, before Allie was a very big wig, Miss Editor in Chief, she was kind of she was the shopping Yoda of our area at MSP Mag. So let me you broke this conversation down as we look forward of retail. You say rethinking experience.
Right.
What do you mean by that?
Well, think about what had been happening in retail leading up to this pandemic. The stores that were thriving were going big, making, we don't need to go to a store anymore just to purchase a pair of pants, right? We can all do that online. We had that ability. So stores were already thinking about like, how do they engage? Think about Lululemon, which had been building these super stores that had cafe and a juice bar and a meditation room, all kinds of things that aren't even about, retail space. They're about bringing people in and keeping them there. Well, now what? Now they don't know when people are going to return to that big giant space that they put together, in Chicago and at the Mall of America. So you have to think about how do you deliver those unique branded experiences, perhaps virtually or in other ways.
Because I was thinking, I'm so glad you mentioned MOA. You saw like the Verizon store, which, thinking that a phone store could be an experience store. That Verizon store is bigger than some than some mini Targets, for heaven's sake.
Right. Experience has been the buzzword, but it's been in a physical sense. It's been, turning stores into playgrounds and lots of things to touch and feel. And now we've done a complete 180. So we have to think about how do you create virtual experiences? Maybe it's a virtual styling session. Maybe it's a show that, an unboxing of new merchandise that becomes an event on social media. It's a total rethinking of experience.
So we're talking the future of retail. Okay, Allison, stores as showrooms. What do you mean by that?
So this had already been happening a little bit, especially with digital first brands. Like take a Warby Parker where, yes, you want to go in and try on the glasses, but ultimately that's an online experience. You're going to buy those on an iPad, whether you're in a store or doing it from home. More retailers, especially the local ones, are going to have to think about that physical space as being the place where they fill orders, where they showcase merchandise, maybe to show it virtually online, less about getting people in the door and more about using it almost as a branding tool.
Warby Parker is a really good example because I'm a walking an iBobs too. I went in there. I wanted to touch the product. I wanted to see how it looked on my giant melon head. But I left the store, and you're right. I bought it online.
Right. So that's a perfect example of it's a showroom. I mean, they're not keeping lots of inventory in that space. It's so you can experience it and then you go home and place the order. Bonobos, a lot of digital first brands have been doing this. I think now all retailers are going to have to reconsider how they use the physical space.
This next topic seems pretty obvious, but when we're looking forward to what retail will look like, a refocus or an energized focus on service. What specifically do you mean?
Well, I think this is where small retailers that have been so badly hurt by this pandemic can really thrive. I had an experience where I called up a local toy store, Kitty Wampus, needed something in a hurry. They texted me. They walked through the store and texted me a tour. They had like 10 ideas for me based on the age. They then packaged it up, gift wrapped it, and delivered it to my house in an hour. Talk about service. Like I couldn't be more engaged or connected with that retailer without ever setting foot. I think service just is going to really distinguish and
I,
differentiate.
Allison, I don't know if you read this, but I'm so glad that you said this because I've seen examples again myself, but I think it was in the Strib or I don't know where, but Rosenthal, furniture in downtown Minneapolis, talked about how they have seen just such a great reaction because she goes, now the focus on the positive is she is more connected with her clients than she's ever been. It's just not transactional. She's spending
Right.
the time with these people and more than she ever had.
I think it's twofold. I think people are craving those touch points and interactions. I
Yes.
think a lot of small retailers weren't so well equipped to do e-commerce, and so they had to kind of do it on a really grassroots level, which in some cases means taking phone orders, walking around the store with your, FaceTime camera to show people what you have, but it makes it actually feel more human. Making deliveries on bicycle. I mean, there are just lots of ways that stores can make it personal, even if people aren't in the building.
Allie, you said not just retail, but fashion. The fashion industry is going to change. The end of fashion seasons. What do you mean by that?
Well, so we've seen there are so many cycles of, the menswear shows, the European shows, and for years and years and years, without question, fashion editors from around the world would travel and go and sit at these shows, and the design, it was just this process that when suddenly it couldn't happen, everybody started saying, do we really need to do this? Do we really need to do these large scale fashion shows? Why are we designing a year and a half ahead? I just think that everything, because it had to, it was disrupted. And now it's going to be just a complete rethinking about how fashion is made, probably making less of it and delivering collections closer to the season. There's a lot of talk about, right now you think about how early things come, it's like Christmas in July at retail stores,
Yeah.
more merchandise at the right time. So you're buying summer clothes in season. And that would be a real shift for fashion.
In entertainment parallel, I just read as far as industries changing forever. TV networks are saying, I believe ABC said they're getting rid of what they call upfronts, where they give a whole bunch of advertisers some cold cuts and a pina colada. Spend millions of dollars on a day to show them previews of a show that they may or may not buy advertising for. They said, why are we doing this? We can just send them a screener on an iPad.
Right. Right. And I mean, look, I think we all want to think that we will be in spaces together again. There's nothing that compares to the energy of being at a fashion show and the creativity and that being together. But I just think it's a good opportunity to say, how could we do this a little more efficiently?
You said there are some new normals that we have right now in retail that are just going to stay. We're not, once we get past this, what are some of those items, procedures that you see staying?
I think one of the biggest surprises, and this goes for malls, for big box, and for boutiques, is curbside pickup. Everybody loves the curbside pickup. I think it gives us that instant gratification of wanting to order something and getting it right away. It's super convenient, whether it's because you have kids in the back of the car or you're not comfortable going in. Lots of retailers saying they will continue to offer that service going forward. And I just think the focus on e-commerce, so many stores have had to literally create an e-commerce platform overnight. That's not going away. I think we have all gotten much more comfortable shopping online, and that will continue.
In our last 30 seconds, I know they're just early numbers. It's like looking at a political poll in April for a November election. But early numbers out of, let's take Rosedale Center, for example. They opened up. They had 200 and some people waiting at the door. Do you see malls actually succeeding because people are wanting these communal experiences, or do you see them suffering because they are large venues?
I think there's no question that there is going to be suffering and that the fallout is really just beginning. I think, the stores that were teetering on the edge before, they're not going to make it. I think it's going to be a long way until we get back to where we were, if we do. But there's no question that people crave humanity and experiences and want to get out, and malls can deliver something unique that you can't do at home. And we crave that.
And if you're craving the latest on Twin Cities business, there's nobody that does it better than Twin Cities business. And it's all because of her and her team right there. Allison
Thanks.
Kaplan, thank you for your perspective on this. I really appreciate it.
You bet. Great talking to you, Jason.
Great talking to you too. We're going to take a break, everyone. Stay right there, get another cup of coffee, and meet me back here in 2 minutes. Back in a moment.